everybody. I am this far from the mic.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Film Tangent Show. Come on, everybody. Come on, everybody. That's a Eminem song, right?
Yeah, but isn't there one that it's the one that goes like, "Come on, everybody, get down tonight." Is that what it
yeah,
is?
that's it. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're back, everyone.
We're back.
We both happen to have a pretty we both happen to coincidentally be pretty tired on this one, so you're gonna hear you're gonna hear some slobbery on this one. Oh, that didn't sound right. You're gonna you're gonna hear some
from who to who,
right. Now you're gonna hear some laziness, some real just dog shit podcasting on this one.
My favorite kind of podcast, or like my favorite kinds of like show episodes, are always the sleepy ones, because you can listen to like sleepy like episodes of shows and fall asleep to them. But on the episodes that were just being bombastic, people are probably like, "Oh, these guys are being too fucking loud."
Yeah.
In any case, if this is your first time listening, welcome. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. I love you. Check us check us out on Apple Podcasts. And tell us what you want us to watch next. Whoever puts a comment saying that they want us to watch like a movie that, for one at least sounds actually interesting.
Yeah. Don't give us some dog shit.
Yeah, don't tell us to watch Jojo Rabbit. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't tell us to watch any Thor, Love and Thunders, or Ragnaroks or whatever. Don't tell us to watch any of that.
Yeah, don't put crap in my comment section.
And most of all, don't tell us to watch Batman: The Dark Knight. Don't tell us to watch. What are your favorite movies?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't tell us to watch great movies either.
Yeah.
No.
Don't do any of that.
Right now, my favorite movies listed on Letterboxd are Clerks, Hellraiser, Funny Games, the American version, and Shawshank Redemption. Those are my favorites.
If you're listening to this person, don't tell us to watch any of those fucking movies.
Yeah,
because those movies suck ass.
No. What are your favorites listed as right now?
I keep fucking with my Letterboxd, in the sense that the movies that I have listed on there are not like even like 10 out of 10s.
I noticed. I think I noticed that. Like, I saw some of your favorites, and I clicked on one of them, and you'd given it like an 8 out of 10. I was like, "Well, how's this your favorite? You idiot!"
So this doesn't really represent my favorites. This is just kind of what I felt like putting up there. Before Sunset is my favorite romantic movie of all time. And one of my favorite movies ever. So that actually does represent like my sensibilities.
Mm-hmm.
The Tale of Princess Kaguya is a Isao Takahata movie. The last movie he made before he died with Studio Ghibli. That's also a superb film, but I also give it 10 out of 10. So those two are not bluffs. Those are actually two of my favorite movies. And then there's fucking Shin Kamen Rider, the Hideaki Anno movie, that I gave a 7.
It's a 7, yeah. I'm looking at it right now. What the hell? What the fuck?
I put that there just because I love the poster. I was like, I love this poster. Let me put this up here. And I enjoyed watching the movie. And then,
wow, dude.
And then The Wind Rises, I gave a 9 to. And I put it up there because I expect to give it a 10. Because with my partner and I, we've been rewatching Ghibli movies for forever. And the next one up for us is The Wind Rises. So I just kind of put it up there because.
Wow. You're a charlatan, dude.
I know, right? I am all about fakeness. I am all about intrigue. I am all about espionage.
Yeah.
I actually work for the FBI.
Yeah, you aren't among the real, dude. Oh, you work for the FBI like Will Graham, dude. But you're not actually an agent, But we'll be getting to that later. So we realized before we started this that we did not talk about Deadpool and Wolverine last week. So, guys, always remember, if there's something on the thumbnail of the video, chances are we're not talking about that. So, with that being said,
that was me clickbaiting. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
fuck, I want to put Deadpool on the poster, so I'm gonna put it there, even though we actually like we say the name. Like I
Right.
prompted you to talk about it, and then we just never
Yeah. So
we never
technically we
cast.
talked about it. We referred to it.
Uh, uh,
But yeah, so I watched Deadpool and Wolverine. That was like maybe 3 weeks ago now that I went to see that. Yeah, I thought it was fine. I didn't really like it. I'm surprised, like all the love this movie's getting. This movie's getting a lot of love right now, and I'm not
this
really
movie's getting a
seeing.
lot of.
Dude, don't buy into it. I'm not seeing the. I'm not seeing it. Um, Really, the only thing. So, of course, when you go into a Deadpool movie, I feel like it's always the same for me. When I go into a Deadpool movie, it starts off really goofy, funny. Deadpool's doing something crazy, and you're like, hell, I'm like, hell yes. I'm ready. Let's get it, you
Yeah,
know? And by the time we hit that 30-minute mark, I'm just like, Deadpool is so fucking annoying. He's so obnoxious. And
same.
I want him to shut up. I felt like Wolverine during this movie. Because Wolverine,
Yeah,
the whole movie, wants Deadpool to shut the hell up, and I wanted Deadpool to shut up as well.
yeah.
So, yeah. The only thing about this movie, honestly, by the time we hit like the first act, like end of the first act, and I realized
Mm,
like what this movie was going to be, the only thing I cared about was the only thing keeping me interested was who was going to make a cameo next. Because there's
right.
I won't say who makes cameos, but in case people don't want that spoiled, but there's a lot of 2000s superhero movie cameos, and not just X-Men. Like they really showed a lot of love to like the 2000s era of superhero movies. You know, that era of superhero movie where the superhero genre was still kind of finding its legs and everything.
Yeah.
Um that's the only thing that kept me interested, dude, was like who's going to appear next. And on that level, it doesn't disappoint, but I'm like, okay, we'll take all that out and what are you left with, you know?
Well, because that's the thing, isn't it? Because that's also kind of like what happened. And this is a movie that has like a long like I've should have rewatched this movie, which is just to kind of see how I feel because I know that did I watch this? I think you and I went to see this in theaters, the fucking Spider-Man movie.
No Way Home.
Yeah, No Way Home.
Did
We
we
saw that in
see it
theaters
in
together.
theaters
I think
together?
did we not? I remember watching it in theaters.
I saw it in theaters with
I'm pretty
Jack.
sure. I'm pretty sure that you and I saw it in theaters. I think you went to see it like again with me or something.
Yeah, that
Do
sounds
you remember
about
that?
right.
Do you remember that then we were just like talking about it at your house?
Yeah, yep, I
Yeah.
do remember that. Yes, you're right, we did. It just came back to me.
Because I remember with that movie was that was the feeling that I had with No Way Home, where I was just like, when's this person gonna come in? When's this person gonna come in? Oh, there's Andrew Garfield. Oh, is
Mm.
Toby gonna be in the movie? So it's like I feel like Deadpool probably is a little bit like that.
Yeah. So I thought of that too. The difference I think is if you take out the like cameos, let's say you had Spider-Man No Way Home and it's the same exact movie, but it's just, two other Spider-Men that are played by some random actors. And then same with the villains. Like they're not played by the same people. They don't resemble the movies that they're from, like the other movies. It's just all self-contained. Everything's new, right?
Yeah.
I think that movie would still be good. I think that movie would still be great, actually.
What? No Way Home.
Yeah. I can't say the same about Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, if you did the same thing with Deadpool and Wolverine, where it was like, okay, you have Deadpool and Wolverine, but like everything else is just like, there's no, like, you have no knowledge of any of these 2000 superhero movies. None of these cameos mean anything to you. Then for me, that movie's a dud. Like
Right.
it's barely on the level with like the first two Deadpool movies,
Well,
which I also don't think were that great. Like I didn't think 2 was
yeah.
good. I liked the first one when it first came out, but I've since kind of realized it's like not that great. Yeah, I think like my issue is just like the story just wasn't compelling, and all this multiverse stuff is so annoying, man. Because it's like we're
Yeah.
bringing Wolverine back, and it's like, oh, it's a Wolverine from a different universe, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, of course, because we know how Logan ended, you know, but
Right.
like so I'm just kind of like, I don't even have much more to say about it. It was just, I remember like halfway through just being like, oh my God, I can't take Deadpool anymore, man. I was ready for the movie to be over like halfway through.
That's the thing with me where I had a conversation with a coworker, who was like this, they said this is a 10 out of 10. They were like, this is a 10 out of 10.
Oh God.
And since then, they kind of walked it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But basically, what I said to them was like, I was like, I said to them, like, what about it? Because I said to them, like, I was like, my best friend, I talked to him and he said to me that it was just a bunch of fucking references. And he couldn't find
Yeah.
out. And,
Yeah.
and then he goes like, well, yeah, it is a bunch of references, But then he goes like, but if you really like those references, and the guy that I was talking to is an older guy in his 30s, so he was just like, I just, he's like, I grew up with the shows and I
Yeah.
just caught all the references. So I feel like it's one of these things, man, with like, what do you call it? Like dopamine, where it's
Yeah.
like you're there and you're watching the movie and it's like bing, bing, bing.
Yep.
Anytime that you're gonna reference and you can point at the television like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio and
Yeah.
in Once Upon a Time in
Whoa,
Hollywood.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, you get like a dopamine rush, and I guess that's really what it is,
That's all it was, dude.
Um,
That's all it
but
was. And you won't be disappointed on that on that end. Like there are
mhm,
there's some like people that come in this movie where I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. And I
mhm,
liked that it was 2000s superheroes. They were really paying tribute to that era. I think it would have been really dumb if all the cameos and stuff were, and it's not even just cameos, like they actually play a part in the plot. But if all of those were people like from the MCU, that would have been god awful. I would have been like, oh my God, I don't care at all.
yeah,
But yeah, Marvel's got this nostalgia addiction right now, and it's like nostalgic for I don't know, man. I mean, like we were talking about Robert Downey Jr. being Doctor Doom, and it's like Robert Downey Jr.'s back after 5 years, and it's like,
it
oh,
didn't even feel that long.
I
It feels like
know.
it's been like a year.
That's what I'm saying. It's like 5 years. It's not long at all.
Mm, mm,
Um, especially when you're old
yeah.
fucks like us, dude.
Yeah, it's funny because the I guess like the time for nostalgia just keeps shrinking, doesn't it?
It
Where it's
really
like it used to
does.
be, where it's like, oh, it used to be like, it used to be that you had to be like what, like 30 years removed or
Right.
something,
Yes.
and
Yes.
now it's like, oh, things from like the 2010s are now like nostalgia, like
Yeah. Yeah.
the fuck.
Yeah. Which I do will say in Deadpool and Wolverine, it's at least like we are now 20 plus years removed from some of the cameos that happen in this movie.
Mm,
So I can't really say that about this one, but yes, I agree with what you're saying. It's like so and so is back, such and such is back after 1 year, and it's like okay, I guess.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, that's really it, man. I
yeah,
have to say about Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't think you're
yeah.
not. I know you're not gonna like it. Dude. I already know.
I'm not going to theaters to watch that movie. Like
No,
what
yeah,
I've said,
don't.
because I do have like a general interest in it that may very well pass, just like by the time the movie actually hits like streaming services.
Yeah,
But I do have like just like a general curiosity about it, that might carry me to watch the movie or at least watch like half of it
yeah,
and
yeah.
log it on Letterboxd anyway. Be like, ha, 5 out of 10. Watched 30 to 40 minutes of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You watch anything this past week besides Hannibal?
Shit, bro. I didn't patch. Say what?
Did you watch anything this past week besides Hannibal?
No.
Nice. Respect.
I didn't watch Jack, and I watched Hannibal last night. I was like, oh shit, I was like, oh shit, I forgot about Hannibal. And then the thing that I kept thinking in my head was like, oh, Hannibal the cannibal. How silly.
That is always that to me that is like Hannibal's a great name for the show. I can't really imagine it being anything else. But going back to the source material, like the original books, the
Mhm.
writer was like, "Oh, I'm going to name him Hannibal because he's a cannibal,"
'Cause
and
he's
it's
a
like
cannibal.
that's so silly.
It's so stupid,
But they
man.
can't do anything about it now because it's just like,
Yeah,
wow,
they
that's
can't. They have to embrace it, and it's funny when they. Oh, we're not talking about the show. I'll just let it be.
yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I did nothing but listen to music, and I haven't watched anything.
I watched this past weekend one of the worst movies I've seen in a while.
Mm.
It was that new Matt Damon, Casey Affleck movie, The Instigators,
Mm.
on Apple TV Plus. It's an Apple original.
Mm.
It's like a heist thing with those two actors. It's really stupid. There's
Really?
like a heist in the first, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and
It's,
Jack Harlow is in it, and
oof. What in the hell is that about?
yeah, he's in it for a little bit, not long though, and then the rest of the movie is just them being on the run, but they're
It says
like,
Paul Walker's in the movie. It says Paul. Oh no, Paul Walter. Okay. I was
yeah,
like, what?
back from the dead.
Yeah.
No, it's really bad because the rest of the movie they're on the run, but it's like the slowest on the run plot ever. Like most of the movie is just them like in some random place, like a house or something, and they're just kind of talking, and there's like barely any character development. And then they even do the one of the worst things you can do in media, in my opinion, in storytelling, which is get a therapist to kind of describe what's going on with the characters. So like the
Mhm.
main character has a therapist, and then she kind of joins them on the run, and she's just like helping them through their issues, and it's just like, this is really dumb. And you get through the movie, and I'm like, why is this therapist doing this? This is so dumb. Like, she's an accomplice harboring fugitives. This is really stupid. One of the worst. One of the worst. It was so bad.
It's a dog. There was dog. How do you even say that guy's name? Dog Lehman. How do you say that guy's
Doug?
name? Is it dog?
I don't know. Who are you talking
How do
about?
you say? How do you
Oh,
say his
Doug
name?
Lehman? Doug.
Doug.
Douglas. Yeah.
Douglas. Doug.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be a good name for a dog or for a boy. I'll have a son. I'll name it Doug.
It.
Doug. Doug. It.
You call your son an it? That'd be so funny.
Oh, but it's interesting because he's had kind of a stinker on because he made Roadhouse, which got pretty bad reviews.
I thought Roadhouse was actually pretty good. I
They're
thought it
like
was
amongst the only people that I think like online that I've seen actually like thought the movie was like decent.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess he did. Yeah, it looks like he did other stuff.
Have you seen Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah, so he did that movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Edge of Tomorrow is great.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow is good.
Yeah.
I remember I read the manga for that because it's based on a Japanese graphic novel, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the manga is called All You Need Is Kill.
Huh. That's a
That's
good
all.
name.
That's what it was named. All You Need Is Kill. I'm pretty sure that's what it was named. And then for a while, this movie was going to be titled like All You Need Is Kill. And then they changed it to like Leave, Die, Repeat.
Yeah.
Then they changed it to Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Edging Tomorrow.
What's in your calendar, Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah, I'm busy tomorrow. So let me look at your calendar. What do you have there? And it just says
Edging. Oh man, this one's gonna be really stupid.
Yeah, it is. But do you have anything like? Is there anything about that movie that you thought was like particularly egregious, other than what you already mentioned?
Dude, it was.
I like Casey Affleck.
Oh God, I mean, he couldn't save it. Neither could Matt Damon. Matt Damon's character was probably the most egregious part because he's just a
Really?
dud, dude. Like, there's nothing to his character. I mean, he's like a
Really?
husk, like cardboard cut out, just no substance to that character. Nothing. Oh my God, it was like, oh yeah. I don't know, man. Nothing like super. I can barely remember it, honestly, at this
Yeah.
point. It was so bad.
When did you watch it?
This past weekend.
Where? Like on streaming services?
Yeah, on Apple
Oh,
TV.
oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Because I was with some people and we just put it on. I was like, because it looks fun. The trailer looked fun, but
Yeah.
but on a better note, I did I actually went to the theater last night with my girlfriend, and I rewatched Longlegs. It was her first time seeing it.
Oh.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It was good. I mean, I feel the same way about it as before. I kind of have a probably even more appreciation for it on the second watch. Like I said before, I mean that movie is I think it must have it was definitely last podcast that I talked about it. Yeah, it's a creepy ass movie, man. It's an effective like mystery FBI manhunt movie, and
Mm.
with some occult stuff in there as well, and it's creepy, dude. It gets under your skin. I was kind of disappointed. My girlfriend didn't really like it that much.
Oh,
She
really?
didn't find it that scary either, or she said it
Huh.
wasn't scary. She didn't find it scary at all, which I was
Mm.
surprised by that. I was like, oh, you got nerves of steel.
Huh.
That movie
I'd love
makes
to have
me
a conversation with her. She sounds a little bit like me
yeah, yeah.
in the not liking things department.
Right, right. Yeah, the Grinch department.
Yeah,
No, but I'd be interested to see what you have to say about that movie. I could kind of
yeah,
see you liking that movie maybe a little bit less than I do, but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, it gets under your skin, man. It's pretty creepy. Nicholas Cage's performance is fantastic. I mean, that's
Mm,
an all-time performance for him.
mm,
Um and there's a couple things I was kind of explaining to her why I found the movie really creepy. There's a couple things in horror that I find really upsetting and
mhm,
creepy, and it's
mhm.
repressed memories and then like old photographs that like bring out repressed memories.
That just reminds me of our uncle picture story that we had.
Right, right. Or like
Yeah.
Insidious, like Insidious is like that where that's like one of the scariest parts of Insidious for me is when the dad like learns about his past. He has like repressed memories about that Bride in Black ghost, and then
Mhm,
he's shown those old photos where every time a photo was taken of him when he was a kid, like she would be in the background, and each one she
mhm.
gets closer. I was like, oh,
Closer. Yeah,
oh god. And this
yeah.
movie has Longlegs has a similar thing to it. Like I find that stuff very upsetting. I don't
Mhm.
know why. Maybe I have repressed memories. I don't know. But but those two things scare me a
Of
lot. Or like
monkeys.
of what?
I said of monkeys.
That's funny. I was talking about that today. Why monkeys scared me. I
Yeah.
was telling my girlfriend about that. Yeah, because I think I mentioned it on the podcast one time, like that little
Did
gorilla
you? I don't
doll
remember.
that my parents got me at Disney World when I was a toddler,
Mhm,
and then like
mhm.
but it was like it's not because when you picture a stuffed gorilla, you're probably just thinking of some like cartoonish looking thing, but
It
this
was like a
thing
real looking thing.
it was very lifelike, but it had like
Mm,
mangy brown fur too that like stuck
mhm,
out everywhere, like it was electrocuted. And then like
mhm.
the face was just like the angriest gorilla face you can possibly imagine, like without showing teeth. And I was
It's
just like,
interesting.
I don't like the gorilla. Take it out of my
It's
room.
interesting. It's taking it out of my room. It's interesting, man, like the unintentional things that people do to their kids,
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
because it's like unintentional, like and it's like in good, there's like in good nature, like in
Yeah.
good faith thing, and it's like it still like damages your son.
Yeah. Yeah,
They're like, look at
dude.
this interesting looking cute gorilla. You give it to your son, they're like, oh my god, this is terrifying.
Yeah, dude. I would have nightmares about it. I remember.
Uh,
And you know what's funny? What we also brought something else back from Disney World that scared the shit out of me. That caused me like a lot of weird, like I don't know, just child like kitty
was it
trauma.
that video?
Yeah, it was, dude.
Yeah.
So Disney World, not the happiest place on earth. They're lying, dude. Um, but yeah, man, it was. I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast before, but it was. And this again, this might be why I find like old photos from your childhood or like old videos just like
Mhm.
creepy if used in horror.
Yeah.
Because like the video, it's basically like I think you could find it on YouTube if anyone wants to look it up. It's Flick's Musical Adventure, and they do like a number of different musical numbers
Mhm.
in it, and they're just music videos with like sing along stuff. It's those sing along things, and you got the little Mickey Mouse head like bouncing along the words so you could like follow along. It's like one of those things. And
Mhm.
the music video that I'm in in that one. I remember the song scaring me, and I think it must have been. I think I was just because I was like 2 years old. I think what freaked me out about it was the fact that I was on the TV because
Hmm.
I'm like a baby. I'm seen for like 2 seconds within the music video, and I think that probably at that age, just seeing myself on the TV was freaky to me.
Hmm.
That's my guess as to why, and then that along with the song, because the song has like it's like kids singing it, and there's just something sort of like weirdly like poltergeisty about it. Like that movie, in the movie Poltergeist, that theme song where it's just like kids singing.
Hmm.
I think it's called Carol Ann's theme or something in Poltergeist, and it's just a bunch of kids singing "La La La," and
Hmm.
it has like a similar vibe to that, where like it's all just these children's voices singing something, and it still gives me the creeps to this day. I still have like probably once a year, maybe twice a year, I have like a nightmare about that
Well,
video still.
I also feel like there. I think a part of it too is that there must be an element of like cognitive dissonance, right? Where you see yourself when you're a baby, so you really can't
Yeah,
remember. It almost feels like powerless. Like I feel like it's the same thing if somebody showed you like something like that. Like pictures of like you sleeping.
yeah.
Like imagine if you got like in the mail just like pictures of you like sleeping.
Oh God.
It'd be like what in the fuck? But
Right.
that's a similar feeling, right? Because it's like this idea of like, and I feel like that's the thing with those kind of repressed numbers you're talking about. It's almost like powerlessness.
Yeah.
It's like you were subject to something that you were like that is terrifying or that makes you uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and you just had no power to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I'm interested in watching that movie for sure. Things don't get into streaming fast enough, man. Just dump shit into streaming. What happened to the COVID days where just movies would just be in theaters and in streaming? They should have kept that going.
I know, right? Yeah.
Curse you, Denis Villeneuve. Curse you and your Dune
I
movies.
know, right? Longlegs is worth seeing in the theaters. I would say if you can make it, I would recommend it. It's a
I can
great
make it. I'm just
experience.
not going
Right, right, yeah, okay,
to. I'm not
yeah.
going to watch Longlegs in the theaters.
It's good, man. Critics all seem to agree on it. Like the movie got critical acclaim, but audiences are more divisive on it. But I'm in the camp that really liked it. Um, but yeah, and then let me see. I mean, that's really it, honestly.
Yeah.
What have you been listening to, man?
Sad tangent.
Yeah, sad tangents. Wah wah. This show sucks now.
It doesn't matter whether the truck sucks or not. I love this man. Um, and like I said to the listener, I also love you. And I will show up at your house.
Yeah,
So you better have dinner for me ready.
yeah.
And if I bring a guest, you better have dinner for a guest. And you better have a nice warm bed because you're gonna sleep in it and I'm gonna sleep in your bed. So
Dude, this is gonna be this is like if there was a creepy pasta that was like the Film Tangents Lost episode, I think this would be it, dude. Like where it's just like the podcast starts out very bizarre. You know those creepypasta lost episode ones where it's just like the Simpsons lost episode or like the SpongeBob lost episode. They have one for like every show now, and it's always the same. It's like at the beginning of the episode, the characters seem a bit off, but nothing weird so far. And then like by the midpoint of the episode, it's like Squidward's, sticking scissors up his big fat nose or
yeah,
whatever, and
yeah.
like
It's
yeah.
like that YouTube thing, the "Don't hug me, I'm scared" thing. It's like that. This is like the
Don't
you know
hug
what I'm
me, I'm
talking about?
scared, eh?
It's that thing that you and I kept saying through all fucking like first and second and maybe even third year of college. Like the whole like what is it like? What do you call an orange?
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe to you, but not to me.
Yeah, maybe to you, but not to me. That thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is actually a horror thing? I didn't realize
yeah,
that.
yeah. You can watch that on your own time. This is podcast.
Yeah, wow, dude. I never realized it was actually horror. That's
I thought I showed
interesting.
you that. Yeah, it's supposed to be just like unsettling. It's just supposed to unsettle you.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember you showing me that one song from it that was like that we found hilarious. But
The
I
one
never
that gets
realized it was actually supposed to be.
Yeah.
horror.
And it's like a whole little series. It's great. But that's where the whole like, maybe to you, but not to me thing
Yeah.
goes. And I forget how the whole song goes. That's a very nice orange. Orange is colored orange. It's like some
Yeah,
weird shit.
tell me please, what do you see?
Tell
I
me
see a
please, what did you
boring
see?
old orange. Well, maybe to you,
It's
but
you.
not to
That's
me.
the name, yeah. There we
Dude,
go.
they're making the Backrooms into a horror movie.
So I hear.
Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about that on the pod before, but
I don't
that's
know.
that's gonna be
The thing is,
interesting.
the thing is that I don't really know much about the Backrooms. Like I've seen the memes,
Yeah.
I've seen the photo, I've seen the meme where it's like John Cena following, like it's like a person like running through them, and they look back and it's like John Cena or like The Rock,
Oh
and they
yeah.
just keep like trying like trapping them in.
Yeah,
But
here it is. I see it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm
I've never
excited.
watched it all the way through.
No, but I'm excited for it though. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I all this internet stuff. Like all the internet horror stuff. That was like my teenage years
Mhm.
of being bored and getting on my phone before bed, doing what I'm not supposed to, which was literally fucking reading creepypastas
Yeah.
and then like terrifying myself.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like really unsettling internet videos. Like there was one that I watched. Um it was called like I don't know if I didn't even watch it all the way through. Like that because here's the thing, man. Horror movies are scary, but some of the stuff you can find on the internet, like
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like dark web shit or anything like that. I'm just talking about like things that people make. Let's just make that
Yeah.
clear. Like that's scarier than like a lot of horror movies. One that I saw was like I forget what it was called. It was like My Grandma or something, My Grandma and Me or something like that. And it's like a video where this guy like goes into his backyard and his
Like
grandma's
an actual video.
yeah, and his grandma's I think it's real or it's supposed to be. If it's not, it looks damn real. And is like
Mm.
there's like a casket in his backyard and he opens it and inside is like his dead grandma and she's like partially decayed and shit and he's just like and I'm like, what the fuck?
I don't pursue those kind of things.
Yeah, no, like yeah, it's
Don't pursue those things.
yeah,
You know this. I've been burned too many times with like just like watching a video a little bit too long,
yeah,
and then the thing happens that you then cannot unsee.
yeah,
So I've been burned with that shit before. I've stopped going down those rabbit holes.
yeah. The most unsettling videos on the internet.
Oof.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me see if I
I like
recognize
ghost.
anything
I
else
like
from.
ghost encounter videos. I like the videos where people are just like driving and then they see like, oh, it's a ghost. It's like, oh, ooh,
Yeah.
spooky.
Yeah, those are creepy. Because I'm telling
Yeah.
you, man, that's the stuff that's really creepy. Is stuff that's like mysterious. You know, like a horror movie is just a movie, and a bunch of people made it. But let me see here. Um. Oh yeah, the KFC commercial. That's the ghost that like pops out in the scary car commercial. That's what
Mhm.
that is. Remember that one?
Yes, yes. You told me that your friends like got you with that, like, right?
No, my friends got me with the Michael Jackson one. In middle school, I think it was like my 10th grade math teacher got us with the freaking scary car commercial. Dude,
It's
that
so
was
funny that your teacher would do that to you. Be like, I'm not gonna get my students. It's like,
yeah, it was
I know the perfect crowd for this. My
yeah.
students.
Yeah. No, dude, it was because it was Halloween. That was like the the occasion. And
Mhm.
yeah. Then there's one what is this? Have you ever heard the Max Headroom incident?
I don't think so.
It was basically like a broadcast interruption where it's like a guy with a mask or sunglasses or something.
Oh, I think I actually have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of broadcast intrusions, this particular video is really real. In 1987 in Chicago, during a broadcast on PBS of Doctor Who, the show was interrupted by a truly bizarre video of someone wearing a Max Headroom mask. The video,
Yeah, I know this.
which only lasted about 30 seconds, saw the man talk directly to the camera in a mask before it cut away to him being spanked by a woman using a fly swatter. I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
The broadcast was
Absolutely.
videotaped and became something of a local legend. However, the video surfaced again on YouTube years later and has since become one of the internet's favorite mysteries. The culprit to this very day has never been identified, despite repeated attempts and investigations by internet sleuths. That kind of stuff's really cool.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like
still
those
cre it's
weird
still creepy though.
mysteries. It is. Those weird
Mhm.
mysteries that we'll never solve. Like they just put a new season of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix. I'm kind of interested in watching that cuz I love that shit. Unsolved
Mm,
mysteries, just stuff that's really mysterious that we're never going to have answers to most likely.
mm.
I find the concept of just not being able to attain truth to be a really interesting one.
What's the Rick and Morty thing? It's like quick fire mysteries or something, or like
Oh yeah,
immediately
yeah.
solved mysteries.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's
like
like
I killed him. Here's the proof. Here's the knife.
cuff
Please
me.
put me in handcuffs.
Yeah, cuff me. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that's how I feel about certain seasons of Dexter, where like they build it up to where like, oh, who's the killer, and then like there's just a random episode toward the beginning of the series, like a random scene where
Mm,
it's just like it just tells the audience like this is the killer. Like nobody actually discovers it. It's just from the
mm,
killer's point of view, and it's like, oh, it's that character. Oh, I guess it's him. You know, it's like, what the hell? Why?
yeah,
Why? Why were you building this up like it was some mystery? Why not start out,
yeah,
with the dramatic irony of
yeah,
everybody not knowing? It's like halfway
yeah.
through they decided, like, you know what? Let's actually just do dramatic irony and not a mystery. It'd be like in Hannibal if, like, halfway through the first season it just shows Hannibal like eating, frying people up or whatever,
Mm.
instead of like the first scene that he's in the episode.
Yeah, it's like they just wait for that.
Yeah, they
It's like,
wait for it, and then they just cut to Hannibal, like, doing
it,
that.
but it's funny though because it's like the fucking guy's name's Hannibal the Cannibal.
Yeah.
There's no hiding that.
They do that multiple times in Dexter, where it's the equivalent of this first episode of Hannibal, where, um, they no one else sees it. It's just the audience, right? It's
Mhm,
just Hannibal's point of view, where it cuts, and the filmmakers are clearly telling us, like, this is who it is. They do
mhm,
it in Dexter in, like, the third episode that the character's in, and you're just like, huh?
mhm.
Why did you do this? Like, I know they did it in season 1, and then they do it, like, in that crappy miniseries that came out a couple years ago too.
Yeah.
But anyway, fuck movies. What you been listening to, dude?
Oh yeah, that's right. um, I listened to "In the Court of the King of the Crimson King" by King Crimson. Do you know about this album?
Sounds familiar. King Crimson. Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
sent me a screenshot of this.
yeah. I sent you a screenshot when I was listening to 21st Century Schizoid, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an awesome cover.
Um, this this is one of those albums that it's like very much like at this point it's very much just like in the pantheon of like classics. I think it's every time anybody makes like a greatest albums list, it's like in it. It came out in October 1969. Let me see. It ranked to number 28 on UK albums chart of like the best albums. It was in Billboard 200s or whatever. And then it says here it was in the 50 greatest prog rock albums of all time. Um, let's see, behind Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. It's ranked number 2 Rolling Stones' 50 greatest prog rock albums. It's progressive rock or art rock. This is an album that I feel like had like a huge influence on Black Midi, a band that both you and I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
because are a lot of the songs, if not all the songs, except for 21st Century Schizoid Man, um, have just like these instrumental breakdowns and just like jazz sections, in the midst of being a rock song, And every song here is like, 7, 6, 8 minutes long.
Hmm.
Moonchild is 12 minutes long, and then The Court of the Crimson King is 9 minutes long. Every song is like quite lengthy, and it's only a few songs. The album's only 5 songs long. Um, so I mean, I thought it was I thought it was great. I thought it was fucking fantastic. Who am I to come here and be like, "Oh, this album that everybody says it's a classic is not. It's a fucking classic."
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's fantastic, and it also made me appreciate "Power," the Kanye song, because it's like listening to 21st Century Schizoid Man. It every time they say 21st century schizoid man, I'm like, oh, it just kind of takes me right into the fucking Kanye song. So it's great. I think he interpolated that so greatly. Like he took that sample so well. Regardless, though, King Crimson, fantastic, fantastic album. My favorite songs in this album were "I Talk to the Wind" and "The Court of the Crimson King." I thought those were the best two songs. Still, though, amazing album. I don't really have anything bad to say about any of the songs. I enjoy the shit out of it, and I plan on continuing to listen to King Crimson because I mean, I can only assume they made other decent albums. It's impossible that this is their first album, so it's like, I don't believe they're gonna make their first album is gonna be like their only good album in their whole discography. So I'm still holding out hope. So we'll see.
Nice, man.
Um,
I just added that to my
Also,
library.
I listened to "Take Me to Your Leader" by
Yes.
King
Yeah. Also known as
Gheedorah,
MF Doom.
also known as motherfucking Doom.
Yeah.
This was great. It was so much fun.
Yes.
I had Phasers, the
Mm.
first song of here, in my playlist forever.
Mm-hmm.
42 minutes, 13 songs, came out in 2003. Again, this is a side project of the icon, one of the greatest rappers of all time,
Mm-hmm.
MF Doom. And it's just fucking great, dude. It's just, again, classic MF Doom, like lo-fi kind of jazzy beats, and then just rapping their fucking asses off and just
Mm-hmm.
making it the fucking boppiest head bobbing fucking shit you're gonna hear. I loved Phasers.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Next Levels. I loved Antimatter. And let me see.
I wonder.
I loved, yeah, I loved I Wonder, and I also loved Lockjaw. But ultimately, I think it's a really good album. I really don't have any complaints. Um,
There's some
and I loved
hidden
it.
gems in MF Doom's
Yes,
old discography and these side projects that he's done.
yeah, yeah, no, 100%. And I also loved like the little like snippets of like being like it's Ghidorah, the king of monsters.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh shit, like I love this little like just sampling of like this old classic monster movies and just putting that at the beginning or at the end of songs just to kind of like put that stamp of just like fucking like this is what this is.
Yeah.
This is what this is. Just this weird like nerd cool rap. I loved it. And I love the cover for this too. I don't
Yeah.
know who made that cover, but I love that cover. I want to have that cover in a shirt.
Yeah, it's great. It's like a minimalist version of King Ghidorah fighting the military or whatever. Yeah.
Mhm.
Those side projects of MF Dooms are great. I like and I'm with you. I love those when he samples just like old cartoons or like Godzilla movies and stuff. I love that.
Mhm.
I love how he does that. It's like you said, it adds like this just nice little stamp on things where it's just like
Mhm.
it sets the mood really well or kind of
It
closes
does.
the song out really well. Um, if you liked that, I would recommend it's kind of more, it's like a little more bloated. It's kind of a compilation album, but it's Monster Island Czars. CZARS, Monster Island Czars, and it's MF Doom with like
Oh,
all of
okay.
his
I got it.
buddies. Um,
Escape from Monster Island.
exactly, Escape from Monster Island.
Yeah.
That's the compilation album they have. That one's like it's got him as King Ghidorah on there, and
Mhm.
like other people masquerading as other rappers masquerading as Godzilla, Toho monsters.
Yeah.
But that's good
I
stuff.
think
There's some good ones off of
yeah,
that one.
because the prop that I have to keep giving to this album too is that it's like I don't always love like the nerdy, like comic book or like classic film rap reference kind of stuff. I don't always love it
Hmm.
because I've listened to a handful of Czarface albums, and that's all that fucking Czarface is
Yeah.
about.
Hmm.
Like I don't really love Czarface. Like I didn't like the albums. I took them off my fucking albums list. I still have some of the songs in playlists though, like the songs that I like really loved. Because there's always standouts. Like they always get it, and like they always nail it every now and then.
Hmm.
But I felt so bad with Czarface because I love his fucking album covers. I'm looking at one of them right
Oh
now.
yeah, man.
Like I love his album covers. I love this as a concept. The special effects and the sounds and the here he comes,
Yeah.
oh, and then start rapping like, oh, and
Yeah.
then I blah, like I love all that like in concept,
Yeah.
but
Follow the
most of the
light.
time,
The light is your guide.
exactly, but I love that, dude. But like most of the time, the execution pales in comparison to the concept of the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
But in this King Ghidorah album, like he nails it. I mean, it kind of is like the best version of that I've
Hmm.
heard outside of his normal like MF Doom like albums. Um, yeah, yeah, that's really it. I really recommend this for anybody who's a fan of MF Doom, anybody who's a fan of rap, and anybody who just wants to have a fun time. Like this is just fun. Um, I've had a good time, man. Just going from Kid Cudi to King Crimson to King Ghidorah. Like I feel like I've been listening to a lot of good music, so I feel happy.
Hell yeah.
But the final artist that I listened to was King, because this is all King. Is there another King? Okay, no. After this, I'm listening to Knocked Loose. But this is the last King. I listened to King Krule. I don't know if you know this artist.
Yeah. That's my sister's boyfriend. That's his favorite musical artist. I think I have
Yeah,
one King Krule song on my playlist.
really.
If I have time, I'll pull it up while you're talking. But yeah, give us your
Okay.
thoughts, man.
Well, I listened to King Krule. I did not listen to like his very first like mixtape-ish album thing called 6 Feet Beneath the Moon. I did not. I might though, but I skipped it and I listened to the Ooze because the Ooze was his breakout album. This album came out in 2017. Yeah, 2017, and I'm pretty sure that I have had that album on my fucking like albums list since 2017. Um, it was in a bunch of end of the year like publications. That's like one of the top albums. Great reviews from every publication. Pitchfork gave it a 9 out of 10, and I think famously Fantano gave it like a 4 or 5 something. So It's one of those controversial like Fantano like reviews where he hated on a really popular thing. Um, and this was like an indie darling when it came out. Um, I really like King Krule. This album, in a way, is similar to the King Crimson album in the sense that it's, again, art rock, prog rock, jazz rock. So if you like jazz or if you like trip hop, like if you like people combining genres, if you like an artist being like, fuck, this is gonna be both a rock song and then there's gonna have a 4 minute intermission of jazz and then it's gonna be a rock song again. If you like that, again, if you like King Crimson, if you like fucking Black Midi, you're gonna like King Krule. I think you're gonna like King Krule.
Hmm.
I really dug him. He's kind of hit or miss though. Like on the Ooze album, he's kind of hit or miss. There are songs here that I really loved. Dumb Surfer, Logos, what is it? The Ooze itself is a really great song. The Cadet Leaps, and what is it? Lonely Blue? What is the name of the song? Lonely Blue. Like I really love those songs. Those are songs in which like his drowsy, like British post-punk delivery like shines. If you listen to fucking British like post-punk music, all these guys have the same fucking vocals. I mean, they all talk. It's the fucking fantasy on you here. Like they all fucking have
Yeah.
that inflation.
Yeah, he does
So
sound like Black Midi, doesn't he? Now that I'm thinking about it,
so
it's
he
that
does
same
have that
delivery.
inflation. Yeah, he does have that inflation, that like British fucking again European guy doing post-punk rock music. He has that exact same fucking
Yeah.
inflation.
On
Um,
Film Tangents, we're having the worst episode of all time.
exactly,
Coming on
exactly,
down through the road, and I said, yeah, no, I know what you're talking
exactly.
about.
That exact same thing. So he does the exact same thing, but he pairs it with like really beautiful kind of organic sounding, just like live rock jazz instrumentation, and it pays off a lot of the time. I didn't think this album was great, although I thought it was really good. So I'm gonna keep it in my albums. I've added some of the songs to playlists. I do recommend it. I love the cover. It's very simplistic and nostalgic.
Mm.
Like it really puts across like what the album really is about. It's really just about a sad guy making songs and sometimes making them a little bit too fucking long. Um, and so I followed up the Ooze with his follow-up album, Man Alive. And this is the cover for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, he basically just continues what he was doing on the Ooze, but this album's shorter, so it kind of cuts the length off of the songs, which works a little bit because it feels like he trims down the fat of stuff that was wrong with the Ooze. But in that same sentence, he kind of loses a little bit of the beauty of a lot of the songs that he made on the Ooze. And so I kind of came out of this album a little bit more lackluster than I would have imagined I would have. I think it's actually kind of worse than, but still valuable to listen to. It was still a fun time. I loved song number 7, Alone, Omen, 3, and I also loved song number 10, Don't Let the Dragon Drag On. I thought those songs were great. Stoned Again is great. Comet Face is great. I really like King Crimson. I might listen to his first album, like I said, and I also might listen to his last album from 2023.
You mean
called
King
Space
Krule?
Heavy.
You said King Crimson.
Yeah, King Krule. Fuck, yeah, King Krule. Again, this is our sleepy.
Yeah.
This
is our Adam Friedland show episode.
Yeah.
Where it's just Nick and Adam like, what do you think's the best book of all time?
Followed by Nick getting on his phone and actually not answering what he's asking.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. Followed by 20 seconds of silence. Yeah. And Adam like sniffing and swallowing his snot in the mic. Like, what the fuck? What is this?
So, like I asked you, what's your favorite thing?
And then Nick's just like, oh, sorry, wasn't listening. What'd you say? Takes like a hit of his vape. Yeah. This is definitely the Adam Friedland show episode. But
yeah, King Krule, great stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I recommend all these guys: King Crimson, King Gheedorah, King Krule, even though they fucked me up in the names. I recommend all the albums.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and when we're not so sleepy next week, probably I want to do some more. I want to bring back the like little like games we would play sometimes on the podcast. Like,
yeah, I have some of them lined up. I've already do them.
Hell yeah, dude! Like one idea that I have is a twin movie face-off. So like two similar films that are like almost like carbon copies of each other. That like which you pick which one's better.
Okay.
Like for example, Bug's Life or Ants. That's probably that's the biggest example of twin films. But there's a lot of them out there.
Ants.
Yeah.
What's Woody Allen?
What'd you say?
Which one has Woody Allen?
I
think Ants.
Probably Ants, because I don't think he's in Bug's Life. Bug's Life, some random. I don't know who plays Flick. Some rando. Kevin Spacey's the grasshopper. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the princess. Yeah, I don't think Woody Allen's in that one.
I'll probably choose Bug's Life.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't have Woody Allen.
Yeah, right.
It's like even if it's better, it's like it's like which one has Woody? It's like which one's Woody Allen? That's what I'm
Yeah. So that's a preview of that. Yeah. So we'll bring those back. But yeah, man. You got anything else before we go into Hannibal?
No, we can go on Hannibal. That was it. I'm finishing up the K's and then I'm going into the L's.
Awesome, man. Well, what I want to do with Hannibal, if you're cool with it, I wanted to, maybe get your thoughts on a macro level, and then we can kind of, since it's just an episode of TV, we can kind of go like semi scene by scene, at least like plot beat by plot beat, and just talk a little bit about it. I think that might give a thorough enough, review. So what'd you think, man?
Well, I have always been a fan of the comedian Hannibal Buress.
Right. Yeah.
This is already going.
Dude, did you watch The Wrong Thing this week, man?
Yeah.
Come on now.
What if that's what I did? What if I just watched like a Hannibal comedy special?
Yeah. Like, well, technically, I watched Hannibal, so
I don't know why Jake wanted me to watch this.
Yeah.
But no. it was fascinating. I think they opened this show in a really interesting way, but I guess like in a more overarching way. I found the show fascinating, you
Yeah.
know. Just a show that's literally about like procedural in a sense. It's like a procedural investigative show, and it's like just trying to find these people who are, I guess, repeat offender like killers, like serial killers, and trying to understand their modus operandi and like why they're doing what they're doing and how you can how can we find these people, you know. I found that like really fascinating and really interesting. And I found I guess like the differences that they created between the characters, like between Hannibal and what's the name of the main character? I forget, like William?
Will
Yeah,
Graham.
yeah. I found the differences between them fascinating, and I also found it fascinating that they introduced them to each other in the first episode. I didn't think it was gonna happen.
Mm.
Like I was just I 25 minutes into the episode, I was, you know, I just kind of adopted the thought of like, you know, this is I don't think, you know, I don't think my man Mads Mikkelsen is gonna be in this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I thought. Like, I don't think Mads Mikkelsen's gonna be in this, you know.
They build him
It's
up. They build it up.
it's like
They make you
shit, you
wait.
know. Well, just like time keeps passing and the guy's nowhere to be seen, you know, and we're just
Yeah.
kind of following this guy that has this like gift, you know, of being able to recreate these like crime scenes and get inside the minds of the killers by sheer virtue of, I guess, like fucking empathizing with them,
Yeah.
which is in and of itself like such like a sick, like, you know, thought, you know, that you could empathize with somebody, you know, to the point where he like even defended a guy, or he was like, this guy was doing this like out of love, you know,
Hmm.
and just kind of creating these like differences between this like, you know, psychopath and then this like weirdo dad that was like killing women, you know, and eating them, you know. So I found that like fascinating. Definitely a show. Now that you forced my hand and I watched the first episode, it's definitely a show that I have like the curiosity and the fascination to go back to and check out.
Yeah. Good. Awesome, man. Yeah. No, I mean, and I'll weigh in too. I think, you know, what you'll find too is with Hannibal, you don't so much get the sense of it in the first episode, but really when I look back at the series as a whole,
Mm,
especially like it's pretty clear by, you know, once you've seen the first season or most of the first season, there really is
mm,
nothing else like Hannibal. Because at first it
mm,
plays like, you know, an FBI procedural with
mhm, mhm.
very, you know, Kubrickian and Lynchian sensibilities in regards to camera work and visual
Yeah, it has a Kubrick. It
presentation.
has a fucking The Shining reference in the first episode.
Did it? Where was that? I forget.
The
Oh, the
bathroom
bathroom.
scene.
That's right, the
Yeah,
bathroom. Yeah, the bathroom. That was beautiful, man. That was like the
yeah,
coolest looking bathroom you ever saw, man.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you're right. That's very true. Um, so very Lynchian and Kubrickian visual sensibility, and then you're like, okay, well, this is an FBI show with that kind of visual sensibility, and then when you introduce Hannibal into it, and the show begins to really philosophize, and you know it explores. The first episode isn't very religious, but it really starts to explore like religious themes and stuff, but in a tactful, subtle way. They don't
Mhm,
outright talk about like religion, but
mhm.
more so of like God. Fucking voice crack. More so like gods and demons and entities. Like they, you know, talk about things in terms of like they'll talk about a
Mhm,
concept and then they'll bring up like Shiva from Hindu mythology, and you
mhm,
know, and discuss that, right? Kind of in a similar way that like Oppenheimer did, where he quoted the Bhagavad Gita, um,
mhm,
very much like that. And it becomes this show where I truly don't believe that there is anything like Hannibal out there.
mhm,
Nothing that combines all of these elements so effectively, really at all, but you know, let alone as effectively as Hannibal does. And it's a fascinating show. It's fascinating that it exists. It's fascinating that it got on NBC. Because if you think this
mhm.
episode's gory, oh boy, dude. I mean,
Yeah, this episode quite gory.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, it approaches, not even approaches, it's right at, it gets to like Hellraiser levels of goriness, like in the scene, because you have these crime scenes where these killers like do things with the bodies to display them in certain ways. Like there's one where, I won't give away too much, but I'll just give one example. Like there's one where like the killer, puts a guy on display in an auditorium and like exposes his vocal cords in a way that you could actually like play them with a violin, and it's, I think there's actually like the neck of a violin is coming out of the neck stump. Like it's stuff like that where it's like, this was on network television. Like I cannot, how they got this on NBC, I'll never understand. And that's why back in the day when I first heard about this, it was because it was on NBC that I was hesitant to watch it. I was like, not even hesitant. I had no interest. I was like, some NBC show that's like a Hannibal. Like I thought it was like a Silence of the Lambs prequel or something. I was like, that sounds dumb. But then I heard all the rave about it, and I think this show is truly something special. Yeah. And what you said about Will empathizing, that is very scary, because when you think about it, and the first episode sets it up well, that makes him extremely vulnerable to Hannibal. And I'll never forget the line in this episode. The most chilling part of the episode to me, or one of them, is when Hannibal is talking to Lawrence Fishburne's character, Jack Crawford, and he says, I think I can, help Will with this cannibal of yours. I think I can help him see his face. And it's like, it just shows bad. It's like the camera hangs on him for a second, and it's like, oh fuck, man. Yeah, and their dynamic is the heart of the show. Will and Hannibal, their dichotomy, and how it's like you kind of look at them one way, and it's like they're polar opposites, and then you look at them another way, and it's like, oh, they're actually kind of the same. It's wild, dude. But yeah, what'd you think of that? So like that opening scene, man. And I'm gonna pull the episode up here too. Hopefully Amazon doesn't shove ads in my face. So what'd you think of that opening scene where he like rewinds the crime scene and goes through it? I thought that was a great visual presentation, because any other show would just have it to where the character's just describing what happened and it'd be boring.
It's one of those things where immediately when it started, I think it sets up the show really well, because you get what you're getting into. It's like, okay, you're following a character that, again, has this like gift for putting himself in the situation and being able to deconstruct exactly how a crime scene got to the point where it got. I found that like really fascinating. Once I was able to get past the meminess of it all, because it's kind of memey. It's kind of one of those like, like you have to take this seriously. Like you have to take this seriously. You have to suspend your disbelief in a sense. Especially because I've seen so many like memes about it. Like there's not memes, but like jokes about like investigative shows like that. Yeah. There's a Key and Peele sketch actually, where Peele plays like a detective, and he walks into the room and he like sees blood and he like licks the blood and he describes exactly how everything happened. Yeah. So it's like you have to get past that. There's that element of like, I have to get past the super detective thing. Like I have to get past the, this guy fucking is recreating the whole fucking thing. And once you get past that, and you embrace it, I think it works. Because the show shows you what it is. Like this is what this show is. This is the character that we have. So it's like, are you with this or not? And I was with it. It's just one of those things where it's like we live in a world right now where everything has been made, and then everything that has been made fun of. Yeah. So you have to just kind of like see things with a straight face and just get past all the bullshit. But I really like that. Like I really like that introduction to the show. And it immediately also shows you like that this guy like even understands specifically why the person does what they do. And he was like, this person planned it out for a week. They recorded the phone conversations. The fucking like lines were tapped. So that was great, because then it shows you then why in the next scene, Lawrence Fishburne is like, I need you. I need you're the guy here, that you're a freak, and I need you to help me catch other freaks, basically. And I thought that was really great.
Yeah. So I'll butt in too on that concept, the whole like Key and Peele licking the blood, like the super detective concept. So what's interesting about this, I've heard people talk about Will's ability to, put together what happened at these crime scenes and figure out kind of like what the profile is. And
Mhm.
I can understand the sensibility where I've heard people talk about it and say like it's almost supernatural, like he's almost like tapping into some kind of, evil that's out there in the universe. And while I
Mhm.
can see that point of view, but I will say recently I read the book The Anatomy of Motive by John Douglas, who was an
Mhm.
FBI special agent. He's who the show Mindhunter is based off of,
Mhm.
and he's who the character Will Graham is based off of. He's the real life inspiration for Will Graham, or Jack Crawford, I think, actually Lawrence Fishburne's character. And I was amazed by how much the FBI is able to, how much of a profile the FBI is able to put together on very limited information and be
Mhm.
right most of the time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there was an example in the book where all they had to go off of was someone had been poisoning bottles of Tylenol or something like that in pharmacies, and that was it. That's all they had to go off of. And they were like, okay, he's middle. It's a male, most likely middle age. Feels he's been,
Mhm.
ignored by society, and it just the bullet point list goes
Mhm.
on and on, down and down. Like it's like incredible.
And they're able to start just then narrowing everything down.
Yeah, and so when I read this book, I was like, man, Hannibal, that aspect of it really isn't far off from real life. But anyway, I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah.
Um, so like you said, Jack Crawford enlists him. Um,
Mhm.
and then we have the scene where he goes into the room and he sees the girl basically in the bed,
Mhm.
and she's
That
dead,
was
but she's laid out like she's yeah.
that was a strange scene because I when that happened, I was like, "Is this happening?" Like, I don't know if you ever got like that scene confused me because I was like, "Is this a dream?
Yeah.
Is this part of his like imagining of the thing?" And then it was like, "Oh no, actually, this is actually happening. Like this happened."
Yeah.
Um, so I was a little bit confused as to like what actually went down. And then he's like, "Well, actually, it did happen." And then he started again deconstructing the whole thing. And then he had that nightmare about her the next time. Um, and that lady, that investigative lady, like kind of put him off because he was like, he basically was like, he asked for them to leave him in the room, and then he was just kind of like getting all worked up and like imagining the whole thing, and like like him jumping on the girl or whatever. And then the
Mm-hmm.
other woman was like, I found this on him, and he's like, oh, basically, it was just like disturbed. It was like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, no, but I liked that though. I liked how. Um, I liked the scene where Lawrence Fishburne's talking to the parents, and then he just asks them like, "Did she feed the cat?" And to them, they're like, "That's like such like an obtuse like,
Mm-hmm.
what is this guy? Who is he? He's been quiet the whole time. He has no empathy for us. All he does is ask about the cat." And it's like, oh, but through that much, he knows that she fed the cat, meaning that he knows that the guy followed that girl home.
Yeah.
So I find all that stuff like really interesting. I find all that stuff really interesting. Just the thinking out of the box, like elements of this show, I
Yeah.
find really fascinating.
Yeah. It's that
And I really like that
deductive.
scene.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that deductive Sherlock kind of,
Mhm.
stuff that we all love that really comes from the the Sherlock Holmes novels pretty much. I mean, but yeah, no, I love that scene too. Then we get there was
Rescues a
some
little dog. He rescues a dog, and
yeah,
and he
man.
hates the other dogs, even though that the dog that he rescued had like a collar. So I was like, "Is he gonna return that dog? Is that someone's dog?" But I guess he's keeping it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't think the dog had a tag though. I think he does like I think it seems like he gives like a reason for rescuing it or something. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of weird. It seems like the dog shouldn't have a collar on.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
had like a little collar.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know, man. I can't remember if it had a tag or not. It seems like it did, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
don't
yeah,
remember.
I like that aspect of his character, how he's an empath and he just takes in all these dogs into his house. Like his house is just filled with dogs.
Dogs.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I liked the little the visions he kept having of the murdered women too.
That was creepy. That was like actually like that added like a horror element to the show. I was like, this is creepy.
Oh yeah,
Like he just kind of turns around and she's in bed with him, and then she starts floating. It's like, oh geez. I was like, I didn't know that. It's like I didn't know this was what I was gonna be watching.
yeah, yeah. Hannibal has a lot of great horror elements in it, and it really like again very Lynchian, psychedelic um horror elements that those only expand. I mean, by the time you get to the third season, I mean it is an acid trip.
Mm.
They never go to, I wouldn't say quite an acid trip, but they really up the Lynchian stuff, and by the time you get to the third season, especially.
Yeah.
But they lay the groundwork for it really well in the first season. Yeah, one thing that I'll say that I think they kind of reeled in, and I think it was a good thing, is Will is a lot more like upset and kind of whiny in the first episode, and they kind of
It's really jumpy.
yeah, I think they reeled that in a little bit as time goes on, because I upon rewatching it, I almost felt like they overdid it when Will's just kind of like, don't psychoanalyze me. You will not like me when I'm psychoanalyzed. I was just like, holy fuck. Is this guy supposed to be a professional or what? Like, geez.
Yeah, right. Because that's the thing. He's like so like neurotic and aggressive.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those scenes. Like that scene, you literally said that scene. That scene like stood out for being just kind of like, ugh, like
yeah.
Ish, like what like somebody should have looked at the page and looked like, let's take that out. Let's not have the line where he says, "You won't like me when I'm psychoanalyzed," because that line did not. That was I could see the actor. I was like, that was a struggle to fucking get that line out of there.
Yeah. Then he stands up. I'm gonna go teach a class on psychoanalyzing.
Psychoanalyzing and leaves. Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Somebody here thought that we were a little bit too clever. They said psychoanalyzed 3 times in a row.
Yeah. As far as I remember, they reeled that in a little bit more. But go ahead. You were gonna say something.
I was gonna say like that was something that kind of like I guess clashed with me a little bit, that I felt like that try hardness with the show. Like I felt the try hardness. I was like, they're trying really hard to make this like show like interesting and clever, like with the fucking Kubrick reference. I was like, oh boy, they're trying, it's like they're trying, but I don't fault them for it. I would rather have it than not, because it telegraphs you like these are people that have intentions, their intentions are grand. I don't think everything pays off in this episode, and there's stuff that I wasn't a fan of. Like I wasn't a fan of Hannibal calling the dad ahead of time.
Really?
Like,
why?
Like he calls him because he felt so strange. Where in my head I'm like, isn't there a way to trace this still? Like I was like, it seems sloppy that you would just like star 6
yeah,
call a guy, and be like, they know, which I liked the call in and of itself,
right?
And I like what it says about his character. I just thought it improper the way he did it, because it's like, you have the phone number, like, isn't there a different way? Like, do you really have to do it? Like, and I knew he was gonna do some fuck shit, because like when he drops all the papers, and then the lady and Will start picking them up, and he goes, immediately I was like, he's trying to buy himself some time. He's gonna do something. It seems like he bought himself a little bit too much time. I don't think he would have had really enough time to fucking call a guy, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, that part of it, I was like, they really have to call the guy now, you really have to start 6-7 him, like, because the FBI, they're gonna show up to the house, they're gonna investigate, they're gonna see that he has a fucking missing phone call that happened like 20 minutes before you guys arrived at the house. Isn't there a way to fucking trace this? Isn't this gonna go back to you?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and so let me jump in on that. I am still to this day confused as to how Hannibal is not caught for that phone call, because like you said, they do bring it up. I mean, in the first season. They know, it's just like you said, he receives a phone call, they know that someone called him. It's like, don't you have the recording? Can't you hear that it's Hannibal's voice? Like, and I've gone on Reddit and I didn't find anything really satisfactory on that.
To
So
explain like how, like why they didn't catch that motherfucker off of that.
yeah, I'm not sure. I need to dig a little more into that because I don't know. I mean, the FBI, they have a lot of power with that, with like telecommunications. I mean, they can really like they can trace shit. I'm pretty sure in the show they even know that it was made from that location. And it's like, well, if you have a location and you have a timestamp,
exactly,
how do you not catch him for that?
The only people there were fucking Will, Hannibal, and the lady that worked there. You know? I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't know how they square that circle. I don't remember if they do that in a satisfactory way or what it is, but I did not find any satisfactory answers on Reddit that didn't just further confuse me or didn't really answer my concerns about it. One thing I will say too is I came up with this. I realized it while watching Dexter. Actually, I sort of came up with this idea of, this concept. Let's say a trope that I've noticed in particularly crime stuff. I call it God level sneakiness, and what God level sneakiness is. To me, this is how I define it. It's when a character is so ultra sneaky and is able to get away with something despite making themselves very vulnerable, very open to being discovered. So examples of this are rampant in Dexter, where like Dexter will show up to somebody's house with like a pretext of like, oh, I'm so-and-so's bail I'm so-and-so's parole officer. He didn't show up today. You know where I can find him? And it's just like, dude, these people can identify you. Like, how is he getting away with this? And like, I've even seen it in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul with Gus Fring, where like he'll be like walking around in broad daylight with cartel guys, and it's just like, what gives? Like, dude, aren't you friends with the DEA? They could like bump into you. They could see you out with like Juan Bolsa, like walking around, Yeah. So that's like a trope that I've noticed. Have you kind of noticed that too? Because I've noticed that in like crime stuff, especially.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Just like you said, just like shit that is like so incriminating, and it's like, how are you getting away with this? Like, this is the most incriminating shit. Why are you doing this? What is going on? And it's like, obviously, it's like the writers just wrote it, and it's like they're just praying that you're just gonna let it be. It's like, just let it be. Just don't think about it too much. Just let it be, because if you think about it too much, then the whole fucking show falls apart. And I don't like that's not something that in and of itself like stands in the way of me being able to like enjoy the show, but it's one of those things that I notice it. I always notice these things, and then they just kind of like stay in the back of my mind. Like, oh, Hannibal fucking called up that guy. At 4:30 p.m. He called that guy. He star 6-7'd him. And he called him, and it's like, come on, bro.
Yeah, and the reason it's done is because of entertainment value, I think. Because in Hannibal, it wouldn't be as good of a scene if it just cut to Hannibal making a call from a payphone. In Dexter, how many times can we see Dexter just do the same thing where he like, just sneaks up behind somebody in like the best place possible that he could, like some back alley or just in their house or something? That gets boring after a while. So in Dexter, I understand them wanting to be like, oh, well, in this episode, Dexter's going to catch this guy by going to a, wedding reception and masquerading as like just some guest. And you know what I mean? And it's like, it leaves them wide open, but it is more entertaining, or in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, like Gus, it's like, it's how many times can Gus meet with these guys at his chicken farm before it gets old? Like, we got to have him in other locations. So I understand like why it's done, but yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've seen people complain about it with Gus, where they're like, oh, why does Gus go to this nursing home and talk to Hector? Can't people see him there? And like, yeah.
But it's interesting though, because it makes me think about Les Samurai, a movie that we watched
Yeah.
recently for the podcast, where it's like that guy had like the perfect alibi. And
Right.
even then, they were suspicious of him.
Right.
They were like, even though you have an alibi of where you were, somebody came and testified, it's like the fucking police were still like, we're still suspicious of you. We're gonna track you. We're gonna have fucking people follow you around. We know it was your ass.
Yeah.
They had people following him on the train. They had people. So it's like they fucking put shit in his house to hear what he's doing. So it's like it's stuff like that, where it's like it's kind of also why I love that movie because it's like it's like it's taking that shit so seriously, the fallibility of like being a criminal, and how easy it is to just kind of slip up even if you did perfect.
Yeah.
And then you watch a show and then you see the guy who's Hannibal the cannibal, there's 3 seasons about this guy, and you're like, you already did something that actually would have made it so they caught you in the
Yeah.
second episode of this
Right.
show.
Right. Yeah. One thing I will
Yeah.
say in Hannibal's defense with this is the show does live in a very like in a heightened reality, and that becomes a
Mhm.
lot more apparent as the show goes on. It's in a
Mhm.
heightened reality where it's not supposed to be like very grounded and realistic. And not only that, I don't think that's a great excuse, but what I do think is a better excuse for this that comes to light is as you watch this show, you kind of realize like Hannibal, if not for his hubris and like some of the more emotional needs that he ends up having and some of the more emotional decisions that he makes, he really was never at any risk of being caught or facing jail
Mhm.
time. Like that
Mhm.
kind of is like my um that doesn't mean he does not. I'm saying, it's ultimately, if Hannibal, he ultimately makes certain like emotional decisions in the show that ultimately move
Mhm.
some pieces, but you get the sense that like if Hannibal never met Will and just kept on going about his life, like he probably
Mhm.
just never would, because he's like a god-like character. Hannibal
Mhm.
Lecter is a very larger than life supervillain kind of character.
Mhm.
Yeah. But anyway, we've beat that horse, I guess. I agree with you on that, and I need to
Yeah.
continue to kind of investigate that to see if there's an answer to this. But um,
You should go to like a meet and greet with like the show creator. It's like, what was that about?
yeah, yeah,
Like, what's your explanation?
yeah,
Um, but no, I really enjoyed the episode though, and again, like I loved kind of Hannibal's relationship and interactions with Will,
yeah.
and I loved the breakfast scene where he just shows up with like eggs and like
Hmm.
sausage, and then they just keep showing you the sausage, and you're like, yeah, what is that? Like what did you make? What is that stuff?
Oh
And
yeah.
but it's funny because they address that with the camera, but it's never something
Hmm.
that it's like actually in the air, like in writing. It's just like the camera cuts to the fucking meat, and you're like, this is weird because I know this guy's doing some weird stuff with the meat.
Yep.
Um,
I
yeah.
will say on that note too, one thing this show does very well, they're very subtle with Hannibal. They're very subtle with
Oh, excuse
bless
me.
you. They're very subtle with Hannibal himself in terms of his
Mm,
killings. They're very specific in when they choose to show him actually killing somebody.
mm,
Because the show is very careful about what they show you about Hannibal. Because in this
mm.
episode, we see him cooking the meat and stuff, but we don't actually see him kill anybody. And
No.
I think that's great because it trusts the viewer to be smart enough to put two and two together. Like they're talking about cannibalism. It just cut to Hannibal shoving some, meat in his mouth. You know, it's like, it's like some of the greatest pieces of media are ones that trust the audience, and
Yeah.
ask of you to, put two and two together. Um, so yeah, I love that aspect of this show as well. I guess like the two scenes I kind of want to talk about. What do you think about Hannibal's reveal? Um, like revealing that he was the killer in like his first couple scenes in
Yeah.
the therapy.
You mean like the scene where we first like meet him and he's like talking to a guy that's like
Yeah.
having some kind of like issue, and
Mm-hmm.
then they leave that room, and then what's his name, Lawrence Fishburne is out
Mm-hmm.
there waiting for him. I thought that I really found that like really interesting. Not necessarily the scene where he's like being a therapist, but really like the follow up with Lawrence Fishburne. Like I found that really interesting because he welcomes him in. You can see, I mean, you see the drawings that he made,
Mm-hmm.
and you immediately can see that the guy, for one, is very charismatic and well spoken, and also he has an accent, which I don't know, like, what's up with that? Like, that was my question. I was like, did Anthony Hopkins have an accent? Is this part of the character? Is he supposed to be a
Yeah.
Danish guy?
Yeah, he did have an accent. He had like I think
Uh,
Anthony Hopkins' portrayal had a British accent.
okay,
Yeah. And then yeah, this one has yeah, I guess a Danish accent.
yeah, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
But I loved Mads Mikkelsen. I love how like fancy and nice he was dressed.
Yeah.
Um, And then I loved kind of where he jumped because he was just kind of like, oh, like I fear that I'm like your suspect or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he was like, what is this guy here for? I'm trying to clear the room. Um, but I really liked just kind of the cut to him and just the cut to just like that straight on shot of him and be like, oh, now we're here,
Mhm.
like we're leaving the wheel guy behind. Now we're here with Hannibal. I was excited about that, and I did not think the show was going to pair those two characters up. Like that was unexpected. Like I really thought that it was going to be the Will show where he's just trying to get Hannibal, and then every now and then maybe we see Hannibal doing some Hannibal shit.
Oh
I did
no.
not expect that it would be like, oh, I need you to pair up with that crazy guy, and you guys are going to be a team. I
Oh
did
yeah.
not expect that.
They share more scenes than not, I would say.
Yeah.
They're the heart of the show, man, for sure. Yep. So yeah, I'm glad you were pleasantly surprised by that. Because that version of the show, I don't think I'd like that where they keep them separate. But the whole point of the show is to have them together because of Will's
Mhm.
empathy and
Yeah.
Hannibal being very interested in letting Will see him and possibly understand him. I mean, that's the whole point of the show. And that
Yeah.
leads me to the next scene. Oh, by the way, actually, in that Lawrence Fishburne scene, because Hannibal starts to think for a second like that he's under investigation, right? And
Yes. Yeah.
and doesn't, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't he like kind of reach for one of the scalpels on his
He like
table?
has something. He like holds on to something and then
Yeah,
he like puts it back. Like,
yeah,
and again, it's one of those things that is like shown through the camera work that it's like he's holding a thing,
yeah,
and then it's like he puts a thing down. So those are they that does happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Which was
that part.
interesting. It was interesting that he did that.
Yeah, I love that part because it's like he's getting ready to like kill Lawrence Fishburne and make a run
Yeah.
for it, but then he
Yeah, yeah.
realizes like, oh, I'm not under investigation. He kind of
Yeah,
puts it
so this guy's
down.
actually just yeah, this guy's actually just here to like, compliment me and try to like recruit me.
Yeah,
Which again, I found it. Why do you think he even allowed himself to get involved in that whole thing? I thought, from my perspective, I thought that it was just because he wanted to see the inner workings of like the FBI and those kind of things, just to know where he stands in terms of like execution.
yeah. I think that's it at first because obviously he doesn't know about Will when he agrees
Yeah.
to the to it, but or he kind of has a hint, but I don't think he knows exactly that Will's an empath. But then, yeah, I don't know if I would say that's probably a good guess, just to
Mm-hmm.
look like a probably good for his cover, kind of like the way Gus Fring is a friend of the DEA and he's a drug
Mm-hmm.
dealer. I would guess that that's probably what Hannibal was doing, but he definitely sticks around 100% because of Will, because he wants
Amigo del
Will.
cartel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He wants Will to understand him, and to
Yeah.
see him. And then yeah, I guess we just got that scene with where Will actually shows up and pulls that trigger and pulls it again and
Yeah.
again and again and again.
Yeah, that was another thing that was unexpected because I did not think that within that episode it was shocking because you see in that episode it's clear like how fragile that guy's mind is.
Hmm.
Like, because the thing with the Will character is that he just seems like a guy that can crumble.
Yeah.
Especially because we have that scene with like a coworker of his where she tells Lawrence Fishburne like just don't push him like too hard,
Hmm.
and then you see him like kill a guy, and the wife died in front of him, and then he like was struggling to do anything about his daughter, and then Hannibal had to save his daughter, which is good that Hannibal was there because before that happened, I was like, Hannibal's being completely useless. Like
Yeah.
he's just kind of walking behind, and, like slowly taking his time.
Oh, I love how
Um,
calm Mads Mikkelsen is in that scene.
yeah,
Like that
yeah,
performance was so good. Just how
yeah,
calm Hannibal walks up. Like he knows what's about to happen, dude.
yeah,
Like that scene, I'm like, what a pure psychopath. Like, dude, the
yeah.
dude's heart rate is like freaking 49
Flat.
BPM,
Yeah,
like Michael Phelps in a hammock, you know, just
yeah,
like walking
yeah,
up, knowing a shootout's about to happen. So
yeah.
good, man.
But Will handled it like better than I anticipated.
Yeah.
He made it happen. He did it. He fucking killed that guy.
Yeah. And I
But
love
I felt terrible for him.
yeah. Yeah, I love the idea of, Hannibal making that phone call because he knew that was his whole thing. That was his plan. I mean, he knew that's what was going to happen.
Mhm.
Because that's to him, to Hannibal, that's like the first step in getting Will to understand a killer is to really understand a killer is become a killer. And
Mhm.
then that to Hannibal,
Mhm.
that's that first big step forward and
Yeah.
really
So he
getting Will
forced him
to
into a position where he would have to kill that guy.
exactly. And
Mhm.
and that's what I love. This is the core to the way Hannibal engineered that whole shootout. This is the core of Mads Mikkelsen's Hannibal that differs him from Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal, and it's this that Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal is more like a supervillain,
Mhm.
and Brian Cox's Hannibal in Manhunter, Michael Mann's Manhunter, is more like just kind of, a true to life serial killer. This Hannibal, Mads Mikkelsen's portrayal and the portrayal of the character in Hannibal is basically Lucifer. Like
Mhm.
he wants to tempt people and see how he can change people.
Mhm.
And to me, I can confidently say, but as someone who's finished the show and actually did a full rewatch 2 years ago, that is the scariest part of the show
Yeah.
is the idea of changing people beyond recognition and
Mhm.
engineering their minds essentially from a distance like
Mhm.
Hannibal does in this episode. That's
Mhm.
terrifying to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Any other thoughts on Hannibal, man?
Like I said to you at the beginning of the discussion, like I am interested in actually continuing to watch it. Interestingly enough, I forgot to mention that I watched the first episode of Invincible.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, but I am interested in continuing to watch Hannibal for sure. I'm fascinated, especially the way that you talk about it, because the way that you talk about this show like allows me to understand the potential, And I've seen the potential just by watching this first episode. Like I realized this potential that this show has. Even though I'm always a little bit underwhelmed with like first episodes. I was a little bit underwhelmed with this one, honestly.
Yeah.
But I love the potential that this show has. And especially because everything you said about the characters is there. And I'm also fascinated, like you said, about the idea of just like this guy being such a master manipulator and just trying to like just orchestrating these scenarios where you're forcing people's hands to do certain things.
Yeah. Pretty scary. Well,
Yeah,
awesome, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had a feeling you would, and I agree, man. First episodes don't always cut it, but I think
yeah,
this series has about as good of a first episode as you could get. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, man. Um, shit. I mean, we don't usually do. We've never done a TV episode, but what would you rate the first episode of Hannibal?
um, I think it's like a 7. I think I'll give this first episode a 7. It
Gotcha.
was a solid first episode. It introduced everybody. It has such heavy hitters. I have no idea who the guy who plays Will is. I don't think I've ever seen that guy before. But Lawrence Fishburne and Mads Mikkelsen, I was very much. I was like, this fucking show is playing with power.
Yeah.
And again, it was interesting that they cast whoever that Will guy is because I've never seen that actor before.
Yeah.
He just looks like the guy from You. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm excited.
He shows some incredible acting chops in this series, but I too have never seen him in anything else. Hugh Dancy is his name.
Huge, huge dancer, huge
Yeah,
dance.
Exactly. I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
And that's more of retrospective. I think the first time I watched it, I probably would have given it a 6 or a 7. Like, I wasn't totally sure about this series when I first saw it, but I really, I got into it for sure. Once I really started to appreciate the philosophical musings and just the depths of this show, the hidden depths.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because I know that you have, like, I know that coming back to this first episode after having seen that whole show, I know that you have a lot of appreciation for it.
Yeah.
And you can see the seeds and everything, how it comes together. Look, man, I'm definitely gonna keep watching the show. Will I watch another episode within this year? That will be that remains to be seen.
Yeah, well, you won't be watching it on Prime because now they made the only the first episode available for free on Prime. Now you got to get AMC Plus or Shudder. So Jesus,
Fuck
man,
that, dude. What in the hell? What in the hell?
Can we just watch TV?
I want to go back to the days where Netflix where it was just Netflix and everything, including Disney movies, everything was just on Netflix.
Yeah, dude, everything was on Netflix. I remember there was a time when Netflix had Family Guy and South Park on. Yeah, I was like on one platform. Holy shit!
Yeah, everything was on there, and now everything's separated.
Ugh.
Now, yeah,
whack.
Shit. We're not gonna get into that, but everybody knows that already. It's so fucking frustrating.
Yeah, that's a tangent for another time. But what you got for us next week, man?
Next week, on Monday, we have the super moon, blue moon. We have a huge moon on Monday. It's a full moon night, and because of that, I want us to watch the movie Moon, the sci-fi mystery from 2009, directed by Duncan Jones.
Oh, with Sam Rockwell?
Yeah, have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I've seen this.
Really? You've seen this?
Yeah, but I mean, I'll be down to watch it again.
Yeah, so that's a movie for the next episode. I've never seen this movie. It's a movie that's been on my watch list forever.
Hell yeah!
And I remember an old friend of ours, William Totten, was always bothering me to watch this movie, and I never watched it.
Oh, was he really? Okay.
Yeah, he was always just on me about this and like Master and Commander for some reason.
That's funny. That's the pirate movie, right?
Yeah, Master and Commander.
I just added that to my watch list. Maybe I was thinking about picking that too because I was like, I think I Googled like what are some good pirate movies, but like serious pirate movies. Like the production quality or similar to Pirates of the Caribbean, but a drama. And that's what came up. So that's so funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah, no, dude, he was always on me. Like, oh, Master and Commander, Master and Commander. Boom, boom. It was like those two movies, Moon and Master and Commander. Let's check out Moon for the next episode.
Hell
and maybe
yeah.
we'll do Master and Commander.
Sounds good. Well, and we'll dedicate that episode to our friend William. Wherever you may be, sir, I hope you're doing well.
Wherever you might be, buddy. It's been a long time, but next episode for you. I hope that you're subscribed because next episode's for you.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. And next time on Film Tangents, we're out.